I really love the aspens and the ginkgo trees because I love the way the light twitters and light breeze. The pines, they're the wonderful creatures to lay underneath. If you haven't done it before, go out and lay under some pine trees when the wind's blowing slightly. And wow, you get such a moment of peace and connection. You don't have to pay anything for it. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Apple Music. You just go out there and lay under the trees.
Greetings and welcome to season 4 of Sit Down and Have a Tea, a podcast from the Wolfgang and Luke Art Gallery, now located in Sterling, Virginia. My name is Syl Vander, and I'm hoping that you really enjoy the episodes. Thank you so much for listening.
It's nice coming off the studio tour, learning about kind of, the traffic that you enjoyed and the activities that you did and people coming back. And how many years have you been doing studio tour?
This is my 4th year. I used to be a visitor, and now I'm a presenter, so I kind of switched over.
Yeah, that's nice when that happens. Let's go over your background again, what you went to school for, and then how you ended up being an artist.
Yeah, so I went to school for engineering, and I'm a registered professional engineer. I spent about 38 years with ExxonMobil, tramping across the world, sometimes with my family in tow. I retired about 7 years ago and decided to, like a lot of people who are retiring, what am I going to do? In addition to working on different charities, I stumbled upon this art school in Great Falls right under my nose and decided to take an oil painting class. Took a couple more. The first time you go in there, you're a little bit uptight. You've never touched a brush in your life. There's other people in the class that have been doing this a long time, but you got to go in there and just let your juices flow and be creative. And I had people come to my studio tours and they paint on the canvas, and you can tell that they're having a good time. They're liking this whole experience of creating things. It's a great segue for the school because you go like, hey, you might enjoy taking some classes. And what you invariably find is so many people are kind of what I call latent artists. There are latent creative people. And they have a lot of talent, but they just haven't developed them, or they're embarrassed, or they don't want to show other people because they don't think their work is up to scratch. In reality, they can make some pretty good stuff, and all different kinds of medias.
What do you think is kind of the crossover point? When, as an artist, do you think you start to own it? Do you think it's with a number of hours or a number of canvases? Or is it, like for you, when did you start to say, hey, I'm an artist and I'm doing something unique?
I think one awakening for me was I was taking a plein air class down in Old Town, and there's like 35 people in the class, and we all have a little instruction, and then we paint for a couple hours, and then everybody shows their finished product. And, you get up there and your little plein air is next to 35 other people's plein air. And you start looking and going, wow, well, mine's not bad. And, all the paintings have something good in them. And you start to say to yourself, wow, I like doing this. It's fun. I'm maybe not replicating what I see with my eye, but I like the product. I like the composition. I like the color schemes. And other people are commenting in a positive fashion. So maybe there's something to do here.
Yeah.
I would say that was, one of the crossovers for me from purely being a student to saying, okay, I'm going to sell some of my products. Yeah. I'm going to display in public. And I'm just a prolific painter. I just like to paint a lot. But, you can only build so much inventory. You got to get some out the door.
Yes. That's the big conundrum, isn't it? It's having enough room for everything, but still creating and not necessarily painting over all your same old canvases either, because it's nice to see the progression. I have one painting myself that I go, I want to fix it up. But I said, no, I painted that in that time. And that's what represented me right then and there. And so I have to leave it alone. And it's nice to have those pieces, right? That you can look over the years and you can say, yes, you can see the visual journey.
And I've had people like this weekend come and say, oh, Tom, your work is getting better, it's changing. And then you kind of think back and you go, oh, was my work bad before? I find my work's evolving. If you looked around my studio, you may have a hard time telling that the same artist produced all those paintings, particularly if you have some older ones and you look backwards. What is really good to see, though, is like I kind of do themes. A few years ago, I did these autumn scenes here.
Right.
And then I did what I called Mystic Forest, which is right behind me. And then this year I got onto a big Japanese bamboo kick.
Right.
And I started painting everything Japanese. What's nice to see is that people came in to this show and they said, hey, you had these really beautiful aspen pictures last year. I want to get one. I'm like, oops, I only have one left. I sold the rest of them. And the one you have left is more likely than not the one you like the least.
Yeah.
What's heartening is that you can tell somebody that that series is almost gone. And you hope you don't get to a series that nobody buys anything from.
That's pretty exciting, though. It is that, something is now no longer available and gaining in value. So, yeah.
We'll get some FOMO people in there. Yeah.
Yeah. What's a dream project that you have, a painting project?
I don't know. We talked about this a little bit last time, but I'd like to do a series of canvases that fit together. So maybe 3 together and, have those of the same scene or the same theme, but, they run together. And they'd probably be rather large formats. I paint anywhere down 8 by 10. My bigger pieces are 44 by 60. Get 2 or 3 big canvases together and have a continuum, and then someday see them on somebody's wall, if anybody's got a house that big or a wall that big.
There might be some in Great Falls that big, yeah.
Oh, there definitely some.
They're building absolute mansions.
That's something that I'm kind of aspiring to, and hopefully either I'll find a commission or I'll just get motivated and do a couple and see what happens.
Yeah. What is your process when you start painting? Do you do sketches? Is it photographs?
I have a bunch of photographs that I call potential paintings that I've collected over time. And then I also have some little boxes of photographs, in files that are subject matter. So I have a Japanese file, and I have a bridge file, and I have an aspen file. And, when I'm starting to burn out of a subject, let's take bamboo, I'm kind of burning out right now. I pick those files up and I start to thumb through them. I've already established that I like some of those pictures, otherwise I wouldn't have put them in that file. Now I'm going, okay, I'm looking for motivation. What's going to strike me? What's going to strike me? And invariably, you'll find 2 or 3 that in that moment you're kind of wanting to explore. And I save those, I print them off on a paper so I don't forget which one I was really looking at. Then I might, depending on what that picture looks like, I might go on an editor like Canva, for instance, and start playing with colors and say, okay, I'm going to distort the heck out of this painting or this photograph and maybe get some ideas of how I might want to execute that. I'm not trying to replicate the photograph. I'm using that photograph for inspiration. Like this painting behind me, it's a hillside of trees, but, by the time I got done machinating them, they almost look like they're floating a little bit. So they're, you may not be able to tell it's a hillside any longer, but that's where it started. And so I take that painting and my canvases, I start thinking about how I'm going to do the underpainting on this canvas. How am I going to prime it? I have 2 approaches. I either use oil or I use acrylic. And I'm really into the acrylic right now because it gives me so much freedom without using solvents to make the underpainting run and blend, kind of the thing you get from a watercolor. And I can also scratch in negative areas. If you catch that painting right before it dries, you can get your palette knife out and start scratching away. And I find that makes a really good foundation to come on top and put the oils on. Because the oil will give me that depth, that more precision, more detail, and I leave that underpainting a little bit more vague. And so all of a sudden, I'm already into a depth situation, and those 2 mediums are complementing one another, hopefully.
Okay, so you've got a combination then of acrylic and oil.
A lot of those, the ones behind me are the same way. And I like to do impasto painting with my oils. So I use a lot of palette knife. I use a lot of thick layers. I'm not a big fan of wet on wet. Sometimes I segregate, or by using the palette knife, it prevents that mixing. That invariably happens on a canvas when you start to take wet on wet with a brush.
Sure. You start to make mud.
Unless you've segregated those areas, you come up with what I call chocolate milk, you call mud. And, that color may look good on your living room wall, but doesn't look very good in a painting. I typically finish my paintings off after they dried with a semi-gloss or a gloss varnish. And that helps protect the painting. And that also, for me, it makes the acrylic pop a lot better, because the acrylic tends to be a little duller, while the oils, they have a little luminosity. So that's kind of the process.
Now, where do you get your ideas to abstract from nature and mix the mediums up? And is it just what you just naturally do, or did you, were you inspired by somebody, another artist?
Well, I started on my oil journey. I used to paint, whatever the instructor was painting, right? I'm trying to match the instructor. I got a coffee table book one time in the mail, didn't know who it was from. And it was about this artist, Erin Hanson, a bunch of her paintings. She's out on the West Coast. She has her own style. It's expressionistic, impressionistic. And I got really motivated. I'm like, wow, I love the color combination this lady uses. And I love her compositions. Mm-hmm. So I started to dissect some of her paintings. In fact, I bought one. And, being able to have a painting live in front of you, I could study the brush strokes. I could study the underpainting, because she had a few videos out at the time, but she was keeping a lot of secrets.
Yeah.
So you're getting a very condensed version.
You're not getting the full recipe.
of magic, herbs and spices.
Yeah.
But anyway, I started following her. And like these paintings over here behind me, that's not her style, but I would say that came from her inspiration. Then I see other people's work, and I just see things in nature, and I'm like, wow, what would this look like? If kind of like we experience when we go out on the golden hour.
Right.
Wow, you never know what color that sky is going to be.
Right.
It could be purple. It could be pink. It can be all kinds of colors that nature presents itself in. They're beautiful.
Just to kind of flip over a little bit to the commercial side of things, when people pick up pieces from you, are they looking for the big size? Are they looking for the small size? Are you noticing a trend at all?
I'd say the medium sizes are more popular, and there's a whole range of buyers.
Yeah.
There's some buyers that are in there and they're like, I like your work, but I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Therefore, they gravitate to smaller pieces, and the smaller pieces are more flexible on the walls. I mean, even for my own house, I don't have many walls that will accommodate a 4-foot by 5-foot painting.
Right.
They just don't exist. And the few that I do have, some other painter already occupied. So I think kind of middle sizes now, not 16 by 20, but something bigger than that. 22 by 42 has been going really good lately. And 36 by 48 has been going really good lately. There's a real dichotomy of buyers.
Yeah. No, I was just curious because you have a full range of size.
So price point is one point, accommodation of where is that painting going to be. And if I have people that are undecided, I say, hey, take the painting home, stick it on your wall. And if you don't like it, bring it back.
Yeah.
This weekend, I had somebody come, they bought the painting. They were going to cover a hole in their wall. They had a water leak. And 30 minutes later, the lady shows back up. And she's got the painting. She wants to swap it out. She says, hey, I'd like you to reproduce this painting, but in a slightly different dimension. She showed me the photograph, how we just missed it by a crevice. Oh, okay, I'm fine to do that. We want to keep the same proportions because I'm going to make it a little wider, or we're going to stretch it both ways to keep that proportionality.
That's a cute story, actually. We talked about your people that you've learned the most from in your art journey, and you had talked about your son, coming in and kind of letting you know what his thoughts are without any hesitation, which is very valuable.
Oh, yeah. My son is 27 years old. He's highly functioning autistic person, but one of his traits is he pretty much black and white kind of person. He tells it like it is, and at least from his perspective.
Sure.
And I often bring him out to the studio out here and ask him either a painting in progress or maybe halfway done. What do you think of this? What do you think about the colors? What do you think about the composition? And, he's a quick study. I know that because we've sat in art classes together. I've seen some of his nice work. And he just tells me, Dad, that one's clashing a little bit. Or, oh, wow, I really like the way that one's harmonious. This painting right here, the kind of monotone blue and white one there.
Yep.
Well, that's an underpainting.
Okay.
So that's how I would start off the painting that's next to it. And I had that underpainting started, and my son came out to the studio, and I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, oh, it's really good. I like it. I'm not starting. I'm just in the beginning of it. And he goes, no, Dad, don't put any more on that. I love the way the monotone comes out, and this thing's talking to me in a special way. And I'm like, okay. And there it is. It's on the wall. It hasn't sold yet. But that's an example of giving me some guidance. And usually his advice is spot on.
Do you find that for the autism, because I was giving lessons one time in one of the old age homes in Great Falls. It was just a one-on-one with some kids. And the lady at the front said, oh, are you giving classes to autistic children? And I said, no, I hadn't thought about that, or nobody's approached me. It's just, the people who've asked for the classes are not autistic, or I haven't reached out. But what kind of activities does your son enjoy the most? Like what's, I don't think it's necessarily therapy for him. It's a good environment kind of tailored to him, right? To people with autism, is that what you would say?
It's a whole spectrum, autism. And, we work out on a flower farm, Legacy Farms. It's a nonprofit out in Loudoun County. And, that's magic because, we have 35 neurodiverse people out there between 16 and 37 years old, chronologically at least. And, they're out there in nature. They're interacting with one another. They're working with their hands. And they're doing all the things. They're working on a business. They sell these flowers, and so they're learning, like, how can I function in society? And some of the kids work at Walgreens. Some of them work at grocery stores, and they're learning that they're going like, wow, I can interact with people. I can create things, and I can be proud of my work. And all those things are happening out there at Legacy Farms. So I can't say enough about that. Other activities that we engage at Lift Me Up, which is a therapeutic horseback riding place here in Great Falls. It's amazing how the horses, wow, they pick right up. And people with neurodiverse conditions, they don't sometimes carry the baggage that perhaps I will carry from my experiences. They might be a lot more, kind of a dichotomy. On one end, they're very guarded. On the other end, they're quite open. But they don't often pack as many paradigms as perhaps I've gathered in my lifetime. And the horses just connect right away. There's a calming, like you can feel the temperature go down, the blood pressure goes down, and they're communicating with these animals, either up on the saddle or alongside, maybe brushing the animal down or working on the stalls or some other activity. So those are some of the things that we do that I would say my wife and I really like. And of course, my son loves more than anything to go down in the basement and get on the computer and be in his own world.
Yeah.
We all need to be in our own world sometimes.
Yeah. Getting
out and at least some interaction with other people, doing other things with your hands besides getting carpal tunnel syndrome. It's pretty good. And the sense of achievement to go out is really great too. And that's like why art can be so good as well. I work at the local art school here in Great Falls called the Arts of Great Falls. And we host over 300 youth every year. And one of the selling points for youth in art, you kind of have different stages. Some youth, they're trying to go to a prestigious school and be artists. Some youth are there to have fun and socialize. And some youth are trying to grow their latent skills. They don't have high aspirations, but just trying to grow their skills. But what I tell the parents is, wow, would you rather have your young one on the computer or creating something that's artistic, really using their passions, letting things turn loose? And art and multimedias really allow that to happen.
Yeah.
And it's just a great gift. And it's so much better than when I grew up. I'm an old guy. We went out on the corner and waited for your friends to show up and do something outside. Now things have changed like so much with social media and all the stuff.
It's lonely out there, isn't it, to be waiting out on the corner for people to show up?
Yeah, something might fall on you before you get out of the way.
Yeah, no, it's true. Getting out on the horses and getting out in the fresh air, socializing, learning the new skills, putting your body into the works. The farm work and the horse and the art as well all offer that. So that's great. And you all benefit from that. I'm just curious to see that. So you said your bamboo series you said that might be petering out a little bit. Was that correct?
I think I've done over a dozen in the last 2 months. I was prolific for just a little while, but I'm not a person with a long attention span. To change up and get on a trail and see where it goes. I can always go back and paint baboons again if I want to.
You can.
I'm probably going to paint a couple of aspen trees after this weekend. I just like to wander into new stuff. And I'm painting bamboo. Somebody asked me, hey, are you going to your neighbor's yard and looking for their bamboo and whatever? And I'm like, well, I don't need to do that. Number one, I've made a lot of trips to Japan, and I'm a Japanophile. Number two, once you painted a few bamboos, you don't need a picture anymore. You put them together. What you've got to decide is how you want that composition to be. Am I going to draw them straight? Am I going to draw 3 in there or 10 of them in there? Do I want my composition to be calming? Do I want my composition to evoke emotion? Stirring emotion, perhaps. So more vibrant colors, more busy. Or do I want it to be a little bit more simple, more subtle, with some details, colors, textures, light, they emit and they bring up different emotions. And since I'm painting trees and landscapes, you don't get all this facial emotion, all the artists through the ages that have depicted human emotion through portraiture and through paintings of people.
It's interesting. Do you see the personality in the individual trees, or is it the whole more so?
Oh, I see both. I mean, the trees, I think, talk to each other. And I think they fascinate me because you go like, wow, how did the earth get all these beautiful creations? And the trees are so beautiful throughout the seasons and throughout the day. And of course, like many artists, I really favor the shadows and light. The morning and the evening, if you're going to take photography or you're going to get really motivated by something you see outside, the golden hours are really motivational to me. You're rarely going to see me go out on a cloudy day and take a lot of photographs because I just find them kind of monotonous and I don't get the emotion. Think about bamboo. If you've been in a bamboo grove when it's slightly windy and you hear all these pieces hitting together, rubbing next to each other and squeaking, rustling in the wind, and it's almost like a symphony that's happening out there in nature, and you're right in the middle of it all.
Yeah. I referee soccer on occasion, and it's just nice to be out there, especially when I'm in a field and there's trees all around and there's a break in the game for whatever reason. And you just take a look up and you just see everything moving, especially really, really tall trees and just the slow sway up there. And it's mesmerizing. I agree. I love the fact that you are saying, okay, what am I going to make today? Like, what's today going to be all about? What's today's piece going to be all about? And you're making a deliberate decision on what the trees are going to say that day to you and to everybody else, which is pretty cool.
And they all speak differently. I really love the aspens and the ginkgo trees because I love the way the light twittered in them and light breeze. The pines, they're the wonderful creatures to lay underneath when there's a breeze blowing. If you haven't done it before, go out and lay under some pine trees when the wind's blowing slightly. And wow, you get such a moment of peace and connection that occurs. And you don't have to pay anything for it. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Apple Music. You just go out there and lay under the trees.
Very nice. Well, it's been really nice to chat with you again.
It's really nice to chat with other people about experiences, about my family, about things that I'm doing right now. And hopefully other people can experience some of those things or, teach me a few things to experience myself.
Yeah. The last time when we spoke, you are kind of Mr. Great Falls in a way, because you're involved in different areas, and valuable touch points and community really to what Great Falls is with the Grange and Arts of Great Falls. And, you're involved in all these charities as much as you can. I know you've been generous with the fundraising for Great Falls Studios in the past and stuff like that. So
we all have more or less to give. When you give to causes that you're familiar with, that impact you personally, or that have impacted people you love, either time or gifts in kind or money, all those things flow a lot better when you're connected in some way. And I hope more people in Great Falls and around Northern Virginia get the chance to experience some of the gifts that we have out there that they can benefit from, and hopefully they can help others benefit from those as well.
Yeah. Just kind of, looking at your life to date, and you call yourself old, but you've got years ahead of you to still do stuff. But, if you're talking to an 18-year-old or something like that, and they were looking to you for advice, life advice kind of thing, what would you say generally?
What I've said to employees, what I say to my own family is do the right thing. And you won't have to ask yourself a lot about whether what you're doing is right or wrong. One time I had a boss, and, there's a lot of great things in life. I'm not going to kid you, but I'm going I said to this boss, how will I know if I'm doing the right thing? He said, give yourself a 10-second test. And if you can't say to yourself, this is right within 10 seconds, chances are you might not ought to be doing that. And, doing the right thing is doing the right thing by others. It's following the golden rule. It's being honest with other people, and it's trying to do your best. My best may not be as good as somebody else's best, but it's the best I got. And I can turn back and look myself in the mirror and say I did the best I could. And it may not have worked out, whatever that situation was, as a job or a project that you were working on. But you said, I did the best I could. So that's the advice I would give a young person. It may sound quaint, corny, but I truly believe it.
That's beautiful. And would you say that's your legacy as well, doing the right thing?
No. I'd say my legacy is, kind of those spectrums of doing some things I'm not so proud of and doing a lot of things I'm proud of, and then some in-betweeners. So no, by no means, you got the wrong guy here. Sainthood is not waiting. Okay? It's not. It's going to be, me and St. Peter are going to have a little discussion, a little negotiation.
Well, they always say that the saints always have a good sense of humor. So good sense of humility. So there you go. You never know.
Never.
Well, thank you again. And we'll look forward to seeing where your art evolves. You've got art currently on display at the Old Brogue, and that will be, I believe you're changing out also for November to be there November and December, so people can come and see you by the time that this rolls out, so people can come and see you or your work at Old Brogue and reach you. What's the best way to reach you? Is it Instagram to look at your art, your website?
The best way to contact me is probably like email, but I post all my new stuff on Instagram.
Okay. And I'll put in the notes, I'm going to be putting your Instagram there. It's thomas.tucker.photo. 50115. That's your artist account? Awesome.
Checked.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks again.
Okay, so have a nice day.
Thanks for sitting down and having a tea with us today. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow Sit Down and Have a Tea wherever you get your podcasts. To explore more art and connect with the community, visit us at wolfgangandluke.com or stop by the gallery in Sterling, Virginia. Until next time, keep discovering, keep creating, and keep sharing the art that moves you.